Guys, in my live events and webinars, many people ask me why multifamily or is multifamily a good investment? Now, while I may be a little biased, I have personally done the single family rental game. I've tried my hand at day trading and even thought of wholesaling early on in my real estate career. The main issue with all these things is that they did not align with my goals of building a portfolio of assets that will allow me to reach my financial goals. It wasn't until I understood what multifamily could do that I realized that these investments could help me reach financial freedom. You may need to decide whether it makes sense to meet your financial and personal goals. Maybe the thought of being responsible for a larger deal gives you anxiety and you want to stick with stocks. Or maybe you're concerned about the financing, or whatever your reason, you should weigh the pros and cons of moving into the multifamily realm and determine if that business is right for you and your goals. I've outlined a few of the pros and cons here. Pro number one, greater cash flow. In a single family home, when your tenant leaves, you need to cover the mortgage, the fees, the turnaround, all that, while that property is generating no money at all. In multifamily, you have many units kicking up cash every month, generating more cash flow. In a larger deal, if you have other occupied units to continue covering expenses, you're still okay. Your break even should be calculated when you do your due diligence so you know the cash flow and what the minimum number of units will be to generate what you need. Pro number two, there's cash for professional and property management. When you have a multifamily deal, there's cash flow to pay for a management company to handle tenant requests. On larger deals, there may be even more cash available to have that a full-time person actually live on the property maybe. Property management can be a hassle for a real estate investor that doesn't have the experience or the time, and something so important cannot be overlooked. While many investors want to do their own management, they very rarely pay themselves the fee. Additionally, the investor needs to be current on all the tenant laws and handling all the bookkeeping as well. Pro number three, economies of scale. In a multifamily, all the units are in one place. They share the same roof, boiler, and water tank. Maintenance goes to one place to work on all the units rather than running around town working on a bunch of single family homes. All this means you're able to keep your operating costs fairly low. Pro number four, options for forcing appreciation. When this is probably one of the major benefits when it comes to multifamily. As the name implies, you're able to push the value of the property by adding amenities and getting more income to reduce expenses. This includes simple things like installing vending or laundry, or maybe even doing some outdoor side trash pickup. You can make one change and your tenants in the entire community may end up using it and of course paying you. You cannot do this in a single family. In fact, the appreciation is based on other people's homes and what their values are. Basically you have little control of the asset in a single family scenario. Pro number five, grow your portfolio quickly. So depending on your goals, you may value time spent in getting deals closed. If you have aspirations of getting to 250 units and you're closing single family homes one at a time, it'll take you years to reach that goal. Rather than buying a single 250 unit apartment building, it'll be significantly less expensive as you're skipping all the extra lender costs and attorney fees and other closing costs as well. And you can conceivably reach your goal in one transaction or maybe even just a couple. And pro number six, house hack by living in one of the units. For those of you guys starting out doing the residential play with a fourplex, you may choose to live in one of the units and rent the others out for the extra cash flow. Because you're on site, you can handle the management and control expenses and keep an eye on things. Financing is also fairly simple as it's considered a residential loan rather. So now let's take a look at some of the challenges, some of the cons. So con number one, it can be tough to finance. When you're diving into deals with five or more units, you're now into commercial financing. The cash flow and property value are basically it's going to be based on your experience as an asset manager. That becomes key. This is very different from residential where they're looking at your personal earning income as a consideration for the loan. The interest rates are typically a little higher, the terms are very different, and there are larger down payments required into the loan or out of the loan for that matter. For those of you who've never done such a loan, it may be tough to do without having a partner to help you through the whole process. Con number two, operational experience is typically required. A multifamily deal is not passive. It's a business. So coordinating and running construction crews, CPAs, attorneys, accountants, all this takes experience. Yes, your property management company will handle a great deal of the load, but you're still the entrepreneur that needs to make sure that the machine is in motion. You need to be ready to dedicate time to building the operation around the portfolio of real estate. Con number three, more people problems. When you're scaling up your units, you're going to scale up your tenants. And while some tenants are nice and will take good care of the property, some will treat the property very badly, tear things up, and then that's what they do when they get their hands on stuff sometimes. Not all of them do it, but one day your appliances are stolen, and the next day the evicted tenant will purposely flood a unit and cause thousands of dollars in damage. The demographics will depend mainly on where you're buying, but all tenants in all properties from Class A to Class D all have their sets of issues, all right? Con number four, regulations and local government involvement. As investors and landlords, we already have many regulations about how a property can be rented and to who it can be rented to. Multifamily has even more stricter regulations. Everything from HUD to ADA to fair housing all comes into play. And that's just the federal side. Your local government is poised to tax you on things like a unit registration fee because they want to claw that too. You need to do your research beforehand and find out about the laws in your area and what the requirements are to make sure you don't break any laws, right? So as far as an investment, multifamily comes with many pros and cons. I personally believe that investing in multifamily real estate is the best way to generate cash flow and build personal wealth, but that's me. Again, it depends on what your personal and financial goals are. It also depends on your experience in dealing with tenants and running a business. If you're not sure, perhaps you start with something small, like a duplex or a fourplex, and see if it's right for you. Smaller properties are easier to buy, and they're easier to sell, and they're easier to manage. Anyway, are you on the fence about getting into multifamily? What's holding you back? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you like this content, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and share it. And also check out the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast on iTunes and go ahead and leave a review. Greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel. And please check us out on YouTube as well. We're working to get out new content all the time to help you build success in the world of multifamily. So I want you guys to be great, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.